everybody. We are at station number 3 for the America's Rail Station. We are at the Reading Railroad Lebanon Station. We'll turn around the camera here in a little bit. We're going to talk about the station a little bit, but pretty cool station. This is one of those, we've been at some of the smaller, sort of the mid-sized town type of stations, and this is actually quite a large one. There's another one right over that direction, which you'll see it in the background there. That is the Coleman Station, or the Cornwall and Lebanon Station, and there's Chuck back there as well. This is really just a beautiful station. This is actually built in 1900. It was designed by a William Brothers and Company, and they call it the shingle style, and it's sort of just the way like the levels of the building, sort of, I guess I've never really heard of that before, but it's a shingle style. It has a really cool tower here. It's actually in 2 sections, and it actually had 2 lines operated for the Reading Railroad off of this. There was a northern branch that was the Lebanon and Tremont line, which went from here at Lebanon. This acted as a terminus, and then went up to Tremont. Apparently did not go up the whole way to Pottsville. I wasn't really sure about that or not. And then this other one is the Lebanon Valley Railroad, which just went, I think, down to Reading, and the other side went up to Harrisburg, maybe probably even further. The next station going west would have been, on the site that I looked at, it said Cleona. There's 2 different sections here actually, which when we go around this, you'll be able to see it. There's a smaller section down this side that houses the baggage excuse me, the baggage room, telegraph office, and the yardmaster's office. And here in Lebanon, they had these 2 stations here. The one over there, built by the Coleman family, was for the Cornwall and Lebanon Railroad. Very ornate structure, very unique architectural style. That was actually built a little earlier, and I believe this station, there was a station that was preceding this, plus several other stations along the line, I'm sure, small stations, but this also, there were what was known as freight stations, and that's where, like, you got the passenger traffic off of these stations, and then you had your freight stations, which there were several of those, like 2 or 3, right in this general region somewhere, which I'll do a little more research on and try to find where that was. Now in this larger section, this is a 2-story, the other one's like 1.5 stories. This had like the men's and women's waiting area and restrooms, and it also had the like ticket office and that type of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around. This, in 1975, this was added to the National Registry for Historic Places, and I'll show you the plaques for that, and then we'll go from there. So let me turn this around. So right there is the Lebanon sign. We're going to get back here a little bit, and then we'll go over to the smaller of the 2 buildings, and it's sort of connected. It'd be like the passenger area to cover up, but you can see how it's just a really, really beautiful station. And this has been preserved. I believe the YMCA owns this now. I'm not sure exactly about that, but I do believe that's the case. We'll go around the entire building, but we'll quick go over here to where the plaques are. I always like when you can find these plaques. Not all buildings have them that are on the National Register of Historic Places, but usually they have them. But this property has been placed in the National Register. And then they have the Historic Preservation Trust, Lebanon County, for that plaque as well. So we'll go around this, but it's just a beautiful station. And this was built by the Reading Railroad. And then, assuming this would probably be like, this rounded section would be like the really nice section. A lot of cool buildings. Like I said, you have right down there is the Coleman, but there's also, at some point, I want to visit Salem Evangelical Lutheran Church, which is a really important church. I believe it's the oldest Lutheran church here in Lebanon City. Hill Lutheran is the oldest in the county, but Hill Lutheran was actually the parent church of Salem Lutheran, which is right down the road there. So they have this cool tower. Not really sure what the purpose is, and sadly there isn't a ton of information on this. This would have operated until like 1960s, because that's sort of how they a lot of them along this line. It got I'm not sure. I know the Cornwall and Lebanon got sold to Pennsylvania Railroad. I believe the Reading Railroad stayed separate, but this did have passenger traffic through until I think 1963. I may not be correct about that, but yeah, this is just part of railway history. And like I said, I don't believe this was the first rail station, because the rail station started on this Lebanon Valley Railroad around 1853. So there would have been another building. I believe they even talk about it on West 2K. On that site, there was a previous station here, and there might have been a previous station too for where the Cornwall and Lebanon is. Now, Cornwall and Lebanon Railroad, that only started in 1883, but and the station was built in 1885. This is the smaller, this is the baggage house. They also had the telegraph office here, and this would have been just sort of over top where the passengers could stand and do all that. But I wanted to show you this side of the building as well. Quite a neat structure and well preserved. That's one thing that's good with these. Lebanon County is very good at preserving its buildings. It's not always the case in a lot of places. There's sort of like a bit of like a baggage cart. That's pretty cool to have that here preserved. It's the Lebanon YMCA right over there. So another sign for Lebanon. I do believe, as much as I'd like to go over into the Cornwall and Lebanon, probably not going to do that today. It is brutal cold right now. I mean, it's not, for most people this probably wouldn't be that bad, but for me it's just hard with the fibromyalgia. My hands don't handle it. The rest of me is okay, but my hands are just killer. It's actually, this second building is actually a pretty decent sized building too, but had telegraph office, yard master's office, and the baggage. So pretty neat. Be cool at some point maybe to be able to get in there, because I think the Cornwall and Lebanon over there, the really ornate station, it's owned by Strickler Insurance. I do believe they allow you to go in. It almost looks like that could be like a ticket door. I think at one point this might have been a bank, because it sort of looks like what they did here, that it had bank lanes, but it definitely has been preserved. Yeah, it's definitely a bank, because that's a deposit box there. But cool. This is the Reading Railroad Lebanon rail station. This is rail station number 3. Like I said, not a ton of information, but you know, I wasn't able to even find like the date that it operated till, but it seems like everything along this line operated till 1963, and that's when the passenger traffic aspect of the railroad shut down, because the tracks are still active for doing freight and all that. But yeah, and look down through on the station. It's a really cool old station, built 1900. So this is 122 years old. All right, everybody. With that, I'll say thank you, and we will see you on our next adventure. And we'll see you about town.